Welcome back to our case study on cholera. So you should have already watched the video of me reading the story of Jon Snow and how he investigated cholera, a cholera outbreak back in his day, and actually led it back to a infested water pump that people used to drink out of, and how he did a little bit of forensic science there. Very exciting stuff. And his discovery of cholera actually led to an increase in sanitation in the city of London and led to less deaths and a much healthier lifestyle. All right, let's get into it just a little bit. So when and where was the outbreak? So this is part of your notes. You should be copying these down. So they happen worldwide, even today. So some of the most famous outbreaks and epidemics happened. Earliest texts from India described isolated cases of cholera-like illnesses. So the very first ones that we have, or we've figured out, come from what we think was cholera. They come from some texts found or written in India back in the day. The first recorded date of them, and one of the biggest outbreaks of cholera started in the Ganges Delta of India, and it actually spread all the way to Western Europe. And remember, this happens from the bacteria getting into the water or food, right? So it started in India and spread all the way into Europe. In 1826 to 1837, we had another one that started in India and spread to the Mediterranean, Asia, parts of Europe, and even the Americas, and at least 200,000 deaths were reported from this one. And then there was a pandemic of cholera in 1817, and it started in the Ganges Delta again and moved with contaminated rice this time, and it moved all over the world. Each year, though, cholera infects 1.3 to 4 million people around the world, killing 21,000 to 143,000 people, according to the World Health Organization, or WHO. So cholera is still very, very prevalent today, and it's affecting millions, or not millions, but thousands of people each year. What are the symptoms? So cholera happens, the symptoms appear about 12 hours to 5 days after transmission, so after you have drunk the infected water or food, and it ranges from mild to severe, so you could have just a little bit of diarrhea, or you could have so much diarrhea that it actually leads to dehydration and vomiting. So the diarrhea is the main symptom of cholera, but the big deal is that diarrhea causes dehydration, which can cause cramps and vomiting and eventual death. That's how people who are infected with cholera die, if they do die. So we do have a treatment for this. Up to 80% of the cases can be successfully treated with an oral rehydration solution, says WHO. The problem, and there's also 3 different oral vaccines. The problem, though, is that these cases happen in third world or not as developed countries who do not have access to this solution and the medicines that they need. So again, we're working on learning what graphs are. So this is a pie graph. It shows us percentages. 80% of the 100% of the cases, 80% of them can be treated in light yellow. Only 20% are not successfully treated with this solution. So there's a pretty good chance that if you get this disease and you take the solution, you are going to be just fine. Do we still have the disease today? So just to be clear, you're supposed to be copying down what is written on these slides into your notes. Do we still have this disease today? So yes, we do. Researchers have estimated that each year there are 1.3 million to 4.0 million cases of cholera and 2,100 deaths, 143,000 deaths worldwide. Remember, the World Health Organization has given us these stats. We wrote that down earlier, so you don't have to rewrite it. The leading cause of this disease is unsanitary living conditions and unpurified water or food. So typically, you don't have to write this down, you just need to write that down. Typically, at-risk areas include peri-urban slums, camps for internal displacement persons or refugees, where minimum requirements of clean water and sanitation are not met. So what that is telling us is that mainly those who are affected are those people who have been displaced from their homes, maybe due to natural disasters or political disasters, so refugees, or people who are living in slums or impoverished conditions where clean water and sanitation is not a priority by those who are taking care of the land, such as the government. So this is a pretty preventable thing, especially with today's modern technology. The question is, who is funding the living conditions of people, and are they thinking about the people or not? So are they making sure they have clean water and sanitary disposal, like sewage treatments? What causes the disease? So the disease is caused by ingestion, so it comes in through your mouth, of Vibrio cholerae, which is a bacteria. Interestingly, only some strains cause cholera, so not all of the bacteria will cause cholera, just a few. There's a picture of the cholera bacteria on your right for your viewing pleasure. And then here is the method for the contagion of the disease, aka how does it spread? It spreads through 1, contaminated water that has the bacteria in it. You can see my beautiful pictures right here. The bacteria is in the water that person is about to drink, and then they will be infected. Or through contaminated food that has the bacteria on it, like my bacteria on my watermelon right here, hitching a ride, so that eventually it will go in, be ingested, and then cause someone to be very, very sick and possibly die. A couple fun facts for you that you might not need to write down, just you need to know, not need to know, just some fun facts. A global strategy on cholera control with a target to reduce cholera deaths by 90% was launched in 2017, says the World Health Organization. So they've noticed that there's a problem with cholera, that it is a preventable disease that we are still having today because of the living conditions and the sanitation of water. So it's preventable, but yet it's still happening because nobody is preventing it. So the World Health Organization has banded together to try and reduce the deaths in 2017 and beyond. And the last thing that you need to know is that it can be spread by an infected person's stool or poop. So if you have cholera and you then have diarrhea, and you diarrhea near where somebody else is going to drink their water or where it could possibly infect somebody's food, then it is only going to spread and get worse. Just thought that was interesting because of how someone getting sick is furthering the spread of the disease. And that is all on cholera today. Have a great day, guys. Make sure you've written down all these interesting facts and information about cholera, and we are going to look into influenza tomorrow. Goodbye.